I'm gonna share with you today all about one of San Mateo's most popular neighborhoods. This kind of has it all. Very flat and walkable, great for commuting, amazing views, and oversized lots. So today I'm gonna share with you all about the San Mateo Highlands neighborhood, which is kind of up by 92 and 280, why people love it, all about the Eichler style of home that's very popular here. There's over 900 of them. And then I'm gonna take you inside a really cool Eichler that I hope that you love. This will give you a really good appreciation for this unique style of home. And for more about life and real estate in San Mateo County, join me every Monday at 5 p.m. So if you're looking to be in the heart of downtown San Mateo, the Highlands is not gonna check the box. But, okay, not a big deal. There's something for everyone. And so what I love about the Highlands neighborhood is we are just east of 280, like everything is here. We are just north of 92. We're in this little pocket, just kind of right where 92 and 280 intersect. So people who value driving on 280 down to the South Bay, Google, Apple, big tech, or kind of going up to San Francisco, living in the Highlands is kind of as good as it gets. Or if you like taking 92 down to 101, it's also fantastic. And so that's kind of the border of the neighborhood, kind of the south and western part. And then on the north, there's the Bunker Hill exit off of 280. And then there's some more Eichlers kind of on the other side of that, but that's kind of the northern part of the neighborhood. And then the eastern side of the neighborhood is kind of Polhemus Road there. I also really like that the Highlands, you don't have to really drive too far if you wanna go out for dinner, do some grocery shopping. So literally like a minute or two from the neighborhood is Crystal Springs Village, Crystal Springs Shopping Center, and that is super popular. There's a Safeway, Starbucks, Neil's, which is a really good breakfast and lunch spot. There's a lot of good places to eat there. And then just one freeway exit away is Laurelwood Shopping Center. That's just on the south side of 92, and Crystal Springs Village, that's just on the north side of 92. So that's all within a few minutes. So if you choose to go to downtown San Mateo, of course, there's 171 different restaurants and shops and all that, which is fantastic, but you kind of don't have to like, quote, leave the Highlands to get everything that you might need. And of course, I know we're in the era of online delivery. We order a ton of stuff. I'm a huge fan of Good Eggs for our grocery delivery. But on a serious note, the Highlands location is really good. The other thing that I love about the Highlands is the lot size here. We have a lot of oversized lots. Now, what does oversized mean? That's just something that I kind of came up with because in a lot of flatter neighborhoods, unless you're looking like Hillsborough, San Mateo Park, where you're getting a lot of larger lots and sometimes even half acre. But for most like normal size lots, you're gonna see a lot of 5,000 and 6,000 square foot lots. But in particular in the Highlands, vast majority of the lots are gonna be 7,000 and 8,000 square feet. In other parts of the peninsula where you can get a lot size of 7,000 or 8,000 square feet, the lot might not be totally flat. But in the Highlands, I don't know if I wanna say 100%, but every home that I've seen come up for sale here throughout my 20 years of doing this has been on a flat lot. So I love that these homes, you can really live in them for your whole life because there's no stairs. So when you walk into an Eichler home, as I'll show you in a few minutes when we go check out a really awesome home that belongs to clients of mine, so stick around for that. But you can just kind of walk in, like literally, even if you broke your leg or in a wheelchair, these homes are just accessible for everyone of all ages, and that's kind of why I love the Highlands. And for reference, we're actually shooting this now on Lexington, which is the busy street in the neighborhood. You can kind of see there's a double yellow line here, but it's not like living on Market Street in San Francisco. It's just, you know, you get more people here. There's a lot of cul-de-sacs in the Highlands too. So that's a big complaint and frustration I have when I have clients who are moving from outside the Bay Area, Midwest, where there's just plenty of land, or they grew up on a cul-de-sac. It's just hard to get that here regardless of whatever your price point is. And then if you're kind of on the west side of Lexington where we are now, and the home that I'm gonna show you in a little bit is right in that little spot, you get some really nice views that look out over 280. You do get a little bit more wind that comes up, but it's not a big deal considering how beautiful it is. And even though we're close to 280 as the crow flies, 280 freeway is actually below. So when you look out, you're not actually looking at all the cars going by, you're just kind of looking out at all the greenery. In the Highlands neighborhood, there's actually two features that I think are really cool that it's just, you don't really see them too many other places. One is there's a community center, a recreation center in the heart of the neighborhood. And where else are you gonna find one of those? I mean, there's a few different rec centers throughout the peninsula, of course. Burlingame has one, Millbrae has one, San Mateo has one in Beresford Park area. But the one here is pretty cool. It's just something that I think most people would love to have when they buy homes, but it's just kind of hard to get. The other thing, in addition to the rec center here, is the elementary school, Highlands Elementary School, which is a top-ranked school. It's very popular, and if you live in the neighborhood, that's typically where you'll go. But of course, check online for enrollment concerns if that's important for you. So if you're into the outdoors, being in this location, kind of in the Highlands near 92-280 is fantastic. So you have really good hiking, Laurelwood Park, which is super close by, Sawyer Camp Trail, which is amazing. And that's just a little bit north of here, Crystal Springs Road. And that goes 6 miles north all the way up to Millbrae, and it's very popular. So you might be wondering, what does a typical Eichler home look like? Let's just take a look at this one, for example, here on Lexington. And kind of the idea with these homes, they were built kind of this whole modernism wave by a guy named Joseph Eichler. He was a well-known developer back in the 60s or so. And the idea is they had very few external windows. It's about like spending time with your family, looking inwards. So most of these homes have really cool floor plans, very open floor plans. Like he was kind of an innovator in the open concept space that would just kind of throw around like no big deal, which is fun. But you can kind of see there's not like huge picture windows here. There's just a couple in the garage, couple in front, but there'd be these killer picture windows that overlook the backyard. In some floor plans, there's a courtyard atrium, which is really beautiful. A lot of the Eichler homes actually have radiant heat, which was way ahead of its time. I'm personally a massive fan of radiant heat, where you have a boiler in your garage and you have pipes in your floor. The boiler heats up the water goes through the house, and then that warmth, that steam kind of comes up into the house. It's a very clean heat, it's very even. All the homes here in the Highlands are built on slab foundation. Now, personally, I'm not a huge fan of slab foundations because I do think it's nice if you have a concrete like raised perimeter where if you have an issue, you can kind of crawl under the house, you can access the plumbing and electrical, it's way easier. So I don't think the dream is to be on a slab foundation because it's just hard to access. But that's what is here, that's what we have. And so you've got a lot of homes here, homes in Foster City that are all on slab foundations, a decent amount in Redwood Shores, and throughout Southern California is very popular too. In fact, my wife and I bought a house recently, which has a slab foundation as well. So I'm not against it, it's just something to know, be aware of it. And in the Highlands here, because of that radiant heat, the pipes kind of go through the floors. And I once had a client many years ago, came back from vacation and their home was flooded because a pipe had burst. Unfortunately, this is kind of preventable. If you do a pressure test on the boiler system, that is a good way to find out if there's a leak in the line rather than coming back to a surprise. But we all live and learn from these things. So just something to keep in mind, if you buy an Eichler, make sure to do a pressure test. Ideally, the listing agent would have included a radiant heat inspection in their disclosure package, but unfortunately not all listing agents will do that. And if buyers agents and the buyers aren't aware or sophisticated enough about this, then the home inspector would just say, oh, like not tested. And if everyone missed it, then lesson learned. But if you are someone who lives in the Highlands or you bought one of these homes and you didn't have it tested, then go out and make sure you get a pressure test to avoid a problem later. Okay, so who buys in the Highlands? People who love Eichlers. Now, this isn't for everyone, right? This is a style of architecture. It's very modern, it's super cool, but it's not what everyone wants. Some people might want a Craftsman, or they might want a Victorian, or something with a little more character that's older, squeaky hardwood floors, arched doorways. Like the Eichlers are not that. These are modern, beautiful, like flat roof style, right? It's just not what everyone is envisioning. But for people who are into Eichlers, these are dream homes. Like I've had clients wait years for the right property to pop up to buy. I've even had one client who has bought multiple Eichlers just to restore them because the process is so therapeutic working on these beautiful homes. And there's architects and contractors who even specialize in only Eichlers. Imagine an architect who only specialized in craftsman homes. Like, no, you don't really see that. But for Eichlers, people are very passionate about them for good reason. Now, one reason why you wouldn't want to buy one is because generally these homes were built to be accessible for everyone. And so from a quality perspective, they were sold back in the 60s, sometimes for around like $10,000 plus or minus a little bit. So these were, even back then, not expensive homes. So the quality of the original construction maybe wasn't as high as some others. Like some of the walls can be thinner, the glass isn't tempered, insulation is lighter, the roofs don't last as long. But all of these things are fixable with money. And that's something I tell all my clients all the time. I like to joke about it, not really, but seriously, think about it. If you can fix something with money, like fixing a floor plan, that's kind of hard. That's a lot of money. But if you want to take out a wall, that's some money, but not crazy money. Location, you can't change that with money. You'd have to just go buy a new house, and that takes even more money. But people who buy Eichlers, they just are so stoked about them. And if I have inspired you after watching this video, go check out a lot of different examples online. You can check out the Eichler network, just go on Google Images and you'll be pretty impressed. So even though there's about 900 Eichlers in the neighborhood, there is one other developer who did build out, I think, about several dozen homes kind of in the bottom of the neighborhood, and that developer was named Whitecliff. And these are more traditional 2-story homes that are really nice floor plans within the Highlands as well. Now you might be wondering, what does it cost to buy a home in the Highlands? Well, it's certainly not on the inexpensive side. Like over the last year, we've had average and median prices kind of ranging between 2.5, 2,550,000 and about 2.7 million. So you're not really gonna be able to get anything here under $2 million. So if you're looking for a cute 2-bedroom in San Mateo, you're not gonna be able to check that box here. I've never seen a 2-bedroom house here. It's pretty much 3 and 4-bedroom homes in the Highlands for something that's a little bit older and more original. You know, maybe something like this here, maybe a little bit less updated. I obviously don't know this house in particular, but maybe that could be mid-2s. But the high end here kind of gets up to the low and mid $3 million range, which is pricey, but I think the value is there because you're getting this huge flat lot that would cost you a lot to get elsewhere. You get these amazing floor plans, and I just think they're really cool. And there's a lot of data too. It's not like you're the one person paying some premium for it. So a lot of it comes down to, I mean, all the floor plans here are roughly similar, very open. So it just comes down to how renovated is the home, how nice is it, what's the view? Is it like kind of in the northern part of the neighborhood, so kind of northwest, kind of in the Laurel Hill area there. There's some homes that are very close to 280, and if you stay in the backyard, you can kind of hear the shh from 280. So obviously, if you can hear that, the value is gonna be a little bit lower as a result. And if you're more on a cul-de-sac or you have this killer view and you don't hear 280, the value is gonna be higher. So if you're thinking about maybe making a move to the Highlands neighborhood or anywhere within San Mateo or anywhere within San Mateo County, I'd love to be your Peninsula real estate resource of choice. All my contact info is below. So this home that I'm standing in front of now was built in 1956, but it had a major renovation back in 2017. So let's go inside and take a look at this. And I think it's gonna blow your mind how cool this is. So if you wanna learn about other Eichlers, check out my other video, which is all about Eichlers, including homes in Burlingame and throughout the Peninsula. But for now, let's go inside and take a look at this sweet house. So we're here with Jim and Dina, who have one of the coolest Eichlers you will ever see in the Highlands. And thank you for opening up your house. Can you tell us a little bit about it and a little background for the project? And
yeah, well,
what we're gonna see.
First, may I say we wouldn't have this house without you, and we were so great, and we are so grateful for that. We are grateful for you and for this beautiful home. So this house was built in 1956. It is part of the Highlands community, and we bought it from a man who had lived here for all but 3 years of its existence. And we were really fortunate because they hadn't really done too much, and so we were able to really make it our own. Would you like to come inside?
Absolutely, let's take a look.
So when we bought the house, it did not look like this. Instead, there was a partial wall, didn't go all the way up to the ceiling, that was here. And when you walked in, the first thing you saw was the fridge, and there was a stove there, oven, sink was here, and the kitchen really only went to about here. And then there was a partial kind of wing wall off the fireplace. This is the original fireplace. And so there was a gigantic dining area, small kitchen, and quite small.
And you said
living
this is
room.
pretty unusual with the type of how you opened it up, right?
Yeah, and that was really, our architect was super thoughtful, I think, about sort of helping us, kind of be able to do that. Maybe we could talk a little bit about Eichler and
Please.
So he was a remarkable man in terms of really wanting middle-class families to be able to afford more high-end design. And so I think you often hear about the concept of outside in, inside out living, right? So living in California in our climate, you can really do that. There are many design features, most notably the glass. One of the things that he also did in addition to the design was to make these homes available to GIs, right? So if you were on the GI Bill, we actually have an advertisement for these houses. They were $19,999.
Oh, wow.
With a GI Bill. But at that time, in many other neighborhoods, if you were not white, so if you were Black or Jewish, you would not have been able to use your GI Bill for a mortgage.
Crazy,
And Eichler said, absolutely not. And so, so these were more diverse neighborhoods from the beginning. And I think he was, a real, kind of revolutionary thinker in that regard.
That's great. Before you bought the house, you had a vision for what you were thinking. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I think that we entertain a lot. So we have people over for dinner, we have people who stay over, and so having more of an open floor plan was absolutely what we were looking for. And it already had a fairly open one, but I think by taking down the wall, that really contributed. And I think a lot of people today invest heavily in really large bedrooms. For us, we end up spending the vast majority of our time in the public spaces, right? So I spend a lot of time in my office, but we spend a lot of time here with our friends and family. And so that was, I think, really important for us. And
can you tell us about maybe the walls of glass and the type of construction, which I think is very interesting.
Yeah, so Eichlers are not built in the same way that most homes are built today. This is post and beam construction, and so you have these posts that are supporting these very long redwood beams, and so that is what bears the load for the construction for the home. And so as a result, you can have these walls of glass because they're not bearing any of the weight.
And that's crazy. You were telling me earlier this is maybe a 30-ish foot beam from one tree.
That's right.
And you can't really do that now. You'd have to get a steel beam would be.
Right, or some other composite material. But I think when you see the ceilings of an Eichler, and originally these would not have been painted. These are redwood ceilings. And so the look at the time in an original home would have been these redwood ceilings, and then the walls were not plaster. They were mahogany from Luzon in the Philippines, and so they would have kind of a caramel colored appearance, with one notable exception, which is this main wall.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, so as part of this inside out, outside in design aesthetic, what you notice is that the exterior cladding material, which all the Eichlers in the Highlands have exactly the same material, literally extends from the outside in, so it's kind of a visual expression of that design motif in many ways.
And same with your flooring too, right? This is all porcelain.
Right, yeah, so in keeping with that, that was definitely something that we wanted to do when we renovated the house.
So tell us about your thought process with the walnut here and the white over here, because even though, kind of as Jim said, it's not a huge kitchen, to me it feels massive.
Yeah, so I think, and this was an idea that our architect had, and I think is just terrific. So these are custom cabinets. They're made by the same manufacturer, and one of the things that feels really nice and enables us to kind of divide the space into sort of the living room and the kitchen is that on this side it's clad in walnut, and on this side it's white. And I think it is kind of nice that the fridge and we have an appliance garage are sort of hidden behind the cabinetry a little bit.
And then tell me about the kind of the peninsula over there and the thought process that went into it. I thought that was really cool.
So as I said earlier, Jim
Yes.
and I love to entertain, but I don't love to see a bunch of dirty dishes around. And so, over this kitchen island, we have this kind of box, which is very handy. It has storage and power in it, but also when you're seated in the dining room, it obscures, kind of the mess that you've just
And you have some drawers here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Can you tell us about some of the different lighting? I feel like the period, these globe lights or...
Right, so those, you will, it's interesting. So there are materials that he bought literally because this was a development. They were putting up many homes at the same time, hundreds of homes. The materials are uniform throughout now. Obviously people have renovated, but so as I was saying, this exterior cladding, right, like that's on all the houses. These lights, these globe lights, likewise original. There are a couple couple of folks who continue to make them for people who have Eichlers and are looking for, literally it's exactly the same material, just made anew. We then did, you know, sort of put in some other lights that some are kind of in keeping with those globe lights. This is actually a light that I made with a friend of mine, and it's made out of paper.
You say like it's no big deal that you made a light. That's so impressive.
It was fun. Yeah, so it was fun.
You said it's paper? Like for me, not, you know, understanding everything about the furniture, when you're like, oh, that's
George Nelson,
1974, I thought that is really neat because I wouldn't think like about a year and everything.
Yeah, yeah. So this is his slingback sofa, which to me also, like, you know, in a modern sense, you might be like, oh, we should totally like, you know, recover the cushions and all that. But in doing so, you might lose this rubber, which I think is actually kind of great and evocative.
It's really neat.
The wall.
It's worth mentioning maybe for Eichlers, it's very common that you'll have the living space and then the 4 bedrooms on one side too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think so many people today really enjoy mid-century furnishings, and this was something that I was so delighted when, previously the washer dryer were here, and when we took those out and put them in the garage, this is a Hans Wegner settee, and it just fit here so great, and so perfectly. So.
And can you tell us about some of that design detail?
Yeah,
just kind of tilt it back a little bit.
Sure.
Or can you capture that?
Mm-hmm. So this is actually a little earlier than this house. This was made in the 1930s.
Wow.
And yeah, so I think it's just beautiful. Some people actually call it the surfboard settee.
This looks really hard to craft. Like that. And are skylights common in Eichlers? Or
we have seen them in a number. So this was here when we bought the house. I don't know when it was put in, but especially in this part of the house, right there, you know, is not as much natural light as, you know, the abundant natural light elsewhere.
Yeah. I hope this gives you a little bit sense for Eichlers and why they're so popular and so awesome. If you're thinking about learning a little bit more about them, please reach out to me. Would love to have a conversation with you. If you'd like to see a little bit more of a deep dive about Eichlers and a walkthrough of this home, check out this video. I'll see you guys soon.